Well, I bet this is a track you didn't expect to see at the start of the season. This track in particular was finished with its construction in 1927 when the inaugural race was held. It has enjoyed over 90 years of thrilling racing action, including Formula One up until the late 70s. The track is 15.7 miles and 25 kilometers long in length, and now we're getting set to go racing around the longest and most dangerous track in the world. You know it, you love it, it's the Nürburgring. Hello and welcome one and all to Friday Night Primetime on RaceSpotTV and to the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. I'm Ola Rempo with Stefan Schlack here beside me in the commentary box and Hugo Louise behind the cameras for today's race. Stefan, it's not going to be a long race on paper, only 4 laps, but of course with how long this circuit is, 4 laps can sometimes seem like a lifetime.
Yeah, most definitely. It's the mother of racing tracks, and it's going to be probably the mother of racing in the TCRs once again this week. Also, the GT4s will most definitely stay very close and tightly packed throughout our 4 laps, and we're not gonna know who's gonna be in which position until the very end.
26 drivers, same as always here in this one, and it's going to be a fantastic race indeed. Lots of very famous corners here, and look at that track map. That just tells you and shows you how long the circuit is. That little bit that sticks out of the bottom left, that there is the Grand Prix circuit. We are also utilizing that here for the race today. Every corner being used, except of course for the corners you can find in the arena section here for the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and of course we fly ourselves all the way up into the Eiffel forests here in the hillsides of the Nürburgring in Germany, and boy, it is going to be a good one. Qualifying was already completed earlier today, so we're going to get things underway here for the race. We're going to go straight to your starting grid. Carl Jensen on the pole with an 8-minute 47-second time. 0.3 of a second behind is Oskari Rene. Patrick Hahn is in the 3rd position with Leonard Hartenberg in the 4th position. Niels Carstensen rounds out the top 5 with William Chadwick in 6th. 7th place is going to hold Tim Greven and Michael Janey. Gillian Salomon in the 9th position with Christian Pereira rounding out the top 10. Adam Isaacson in 11th with Tino Blickenheim in 12th. Joshua Hellrung and Max Kamara round out a 14-car GT4 field. For the TCRs, it is Steen Legend to start things off on pole, down to 15th place with George Simmons beside him in 2nd, about 0.4 of a second off. David Toth is in 17th, Kieran Harrison in 18th. Corentin Guinness in 19th with Ollie Peacock in 20th. David Pina in 21st. Miguel Garcia in 22nd. Miguel Freitas in 23rd. Danny Martin in 24th. Isaac Jane and Roman Bokler round out ourselves our 11-car TCR field here on the night. So, as these guys start to settle on away, Stefan, very short pace lap here. They only have to throw themselves out the dot in the hill once before we get ourselves going for the race here. So, as they start to round themselves to the final corners of the fearsome circuit, your final thoughts here before we find ourselves going green.
Well, it's gonna be quite a banger. These GT4s will stay together like we know from the TCRs. It's really hard for these guys to separate. except for probably the top 2-3 guys. Those really can make a difference here at the Nürburgring.
Just kind of throwing ourselves up here for the final set of corners here before we get ourselves set to go thundering down towards the good old Yokohama S. It is a field packed full of Porsche, Cayman, 718, GT4, Club Sports, no BMWs at all in the field today. So a field dominated here by Audis and by Porsches. It is bound to be a fun one. The pace car is going to pull it down to pit road and will be in the hands of Carl Jensen here, who gets on the who's still waiting actually to get on that lap pedal. Does not want to give those guys the toe behind him in the run down to the Yokohama S. One car already looking down to the inside, potentially go 3 wide to the back. Now the green flag drops. We are underway here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Great launch there from Jensen as he gets well out in ahead of his teammate of Oscar Rene. Down for turn number 1. Will there be any contact? Couple drivers fanning out. Bit of door-to-door contact in the back. But so far, one car does get sent around. Christian Pereira gets a bit of contact in the back, but he's managed to keep things sorted, sort of for the most part. The DCR is also underway in their thunder down towards turn number 1 here, Stefan.
Yeah, and it has been a clean start for them. Steel Ledger from the pole leads them through turn 1. So it's also a great start for these guys. A little bit of side-by-side action through the Yokohama S, but no door banging whatsoever, it seems like.
A lot of the attrition we can expect to come on up here in just a couple of kilometers here as, well, now the GT4s now throw themselves through the lowest point on the circuit, the Dunlop hairpin. From there, the Dunlop hairpin, excuse me. From there, it's going to be a straight run all the way up the hill towards the very top of the Nürburgring Nordschleife. So as you watch the Porsche start to dart themselves through one of the very fast chicanes here on the circuit, the TCRs on the right-hand side of the screen. The battle for the lead is on in there too, with David Toth right in behind Steel Ledger, trying to see if he can make some ground.
By the way, speaking about right-hand sides, Christian Pereira, he had stopped his car just outside the Yokohama S, so seems like an early retirement for him after having to stop his car just after the Yokohama S.
David Toth found the grass a little bit on the left-hand side of the track there in the run to try to get down Steel Ledger. Cost himself a little bit of time to the full send racing driver. Oh, one car swings out way out wide. That's George Simmons that just swung really wide to the corner. Wonder if he got scared out by Kieran Harrison just behind, but oh, and more contact up in front there. That was again on board Simmons there. He just doored it with Corentin Guinness, who got a little bit too close for comfort trying to get by him.
Yeah, seems like that George Simmons might even have a slowdown to serve because he's losing more and more positions and it's really slow. Look at that. So George Simmons with a huge mistake already in this race.
That definitely is a slowdown penalty. You know what? I think I know where he got it from. Kind of cut the track a little bit on one of the fast right-handers, so he's serving the slowdown penalty all the way back from there. Now we're through the Nordschleife now, and this is where things start to get really interesting for all the guys so far in the fields. Still no dramas up in the GT4 field either. They're kind of starting to separate out up in front there. They're just now over one of these big crests here. Watch, they fly up and over the hill so light and jumping up into the air as well as they then slam onto the brakes for Flugplatz.
Yeah, while testing for the Nürburgring 24 hours myself, I had a horrible crash in the Porsche right over Flugplatz, and that was then the decider for me and for my team at least to go with the BMW for this weekend's race. And by the way, to conclude on George Simmons, I'm suspecting that he got that slowdown penalty from the Michael Schumacher S because it's so incredibly easy on the right-hander to go just a little bit too wide out of the lefty and take that slowdown penalty.
Take a look at the replay here from the start. That was Pereira who got, he had a lot of door-to-door contact there at the entrance of the Yokohama S, and he was the driver that kind of parked it onto the right-hand side of the Yokohama S, so that must have damaged the car. Maybe wasn't feeling too happy about something that took place.
Yeah, that left front is dipping. That car is
hit the wall too.
That most definitely seemed like his suspension did collapse there, so I'm really not surprised he had to retire, especially with the car bumping as much. Also seems like Tino Blankenheim had a crash through Adenauer Forst because we had a local yellow there, and very much so is... Oh my goodness!
Very, very easy mistake. That was just after the foxhole turned right at the bottom of the hill there. Kind of swung it about to caught the grass. And once you hit the grass, you're not slowing down. This really is kind of the Monaco of road course racing. There is so little runoff around this track. And There is almost no room for error. Not a lot of gravel traps either for a little run if you have. Take a look back here at the TCR battle for the race lead here. Steen Ledger still has the train. Toth in second. Harrison in third. George Simmons has got a lot of work to do sitting at the tail end of your TCR field. He was up at the front, and he's a driver that we commonly see at the front. He has a lot of work to do if he wants to work his way back up through the running order. Take a ride on board with Harrison and watch the wheel work as we continue to dart away back down the hill.
Yeah, they're darting down away through the hill, but also they are darting a little bit away from 4th place. Ollie Peacock is 2nd already. The gap is between Harrison, who we're riding on board here, and the 16 of Peacock.
Darting away. Now we're at a bit of an upper point out in the Nürburgring. We're definitely significantly higher up altitude-wise than we are at the start of the lap, all the way down to the GP circuit. Already about halfway through lap number 1 of 4. Of course, 4 laps does not seem like a lot, but when you tally that all together, that's going to be nearly 40 minutes of racing action we're going to be witnessing here. They're side by side for 5th and 6th, and in fact, Hartenberg does manage to get a pass done around Niels Carstensen, it would seem, in the number 10 car. The 10 car had gone past him at the start of the race, and Hartenberg takes back the 5th position as well. So the battle's starting to heat on up. This is one of those really, really long straightaways, and one of the few places where you can realistically make a passing opportunity in these GT4s.
And this long straight used to be much longer Stahlstrecke, where we have this right-hander here right now. There is a little fence gate to the left, and that's when in the days way back, they actually darted up or way through there. So, but due to safety concerns, they had to introduce the carousel because the cars were jumping significantly higher than we know from all those glorious photos of the late days of the Formula 1 when they were there through the Flugplatz.
The carousel is one of the more difficult corners, and it's one that the TCRs are just now having to manage as well. So it's one of the most fascinating corners, in my opinion, about this place. You really don't want to find yourself over there too much if you're in the introduction, in the open wheel cars. But look at this, David Toth giving a bit of a bump draft there to Harrison. It is worth noting that it looks like Toth managed to get a pass done for the 2nd position here, possibly down that straightaway there. He got passed for the 2nd position, so Harrison managed to get by. Toth has been wanting to bump draft these guys through those long straightaways. That's not how you make up spots, though. You got to make it by moving. Bump drafting in a touring car really doesn't do a whole lot for you as it would in the stock car.
Now, especially because these cars are quite range limited. Don't forget they're limiting out, for example, down up to Tiergarten, about halfway down that straight already. So these guys really have to work for the passes because they're all on the limiter. Why don't?
Oh, and David Toth took a bit of a wider line there. So did Harrison through one of those corners there. Kind of got a little, he really kind of tempted fate there with the grass. Of course, these front-wheel drive cars, if they get into the grass, it's not like the GT4s are there going to oversteer. They just don't want to turn period. Toth almost earns himself a slowdown penalty there as well. Again, tempting fate here. Now, this is one of the more sketch parts of the track. Bit of a jump there down the hill. That is one of the funnest corners, though, you can get around this place if you can nail the way you enter it.
Yeah, most definitely. Pflanzgarten, quite an awesome turn here. Double right-hander into off-camber left-hander, and then the very great Stefan Belloff, as it can't get much better than the section between the Caracciolo Carousel and Schwabenschwanz.
And the TCRs are now starting to near the Dot na Ho, the longest straightaway on the circuit, and one of the longest straightaways in the racing world. Looks like Han is really close down to Rene, but he's going to keep it in behind him. Toth is close to Harrison. Not wanting to really go for the pass here just yet. He's trying to be nice and safe here and make sure he doesn't get passed back immediately afterwards. He could have a run here at Steen Ledger if he could get a good run off of this final corner here. So down the Dot na Ho, and you can see the train starting to stay left and right as Ledger tries desperately to break the draft. Toth closing into the back of Harrison here. Harrison not gaining as much ground as he really needs over there to overtake Steen Ledger for the lead.
Yeah, and the thing is, kind of, Steen Ledger, he's really costing himself much more speed than he is actually staying ahead here. So Kieran Harrison has an easy overtake here, and as well as David Todd, he will also quite easily get past the 13 of Steen Ledger. So Steen costing himself quite a lot with this weaving back and forth.
Oh, and David Toth almost gets run over by Ledger as well as they start to slam the brakes, coming back up the hill, right to the final corners here. The Nordschleife manages to keep it steady, though. So David Toth can potentially have it run here on Kieran Harrison down into the Yokohama S. The question is, does he elect to go for that move? He is close enough that he could have a dive up the inside if he really wanted to. It'd be a question of how wise it be to go, though. We're still less than halfway through the race. Toth is going to go for the move here. Down the inside of Kieran Harrison into the Yokohama as the 7 car trying to squeeze him into the apex, but it doesn't quite work out. Toth trying to get the switchback here on the exit, but here comes Steen Ledger now, trying to fight back for second.
Yeah, he doesn't get the drive, though, so Steen has to sit back once again. Does Todd try again for first place? No, this time he stays behind through the Ford chicane. A wise move there by David to not force this issue even more.
The GT4 pack has pretty much split up at this point from what it was at the start of the race. So once again, all the racing is down here in the TCR. Toth looking for the second position. That caused him to swing out wide, though, for the Dunlop hairpin, but tries to get the crossover here on Kieran Harrison. Tries to get the run off, but no dice so far. So the battle for the race lead here, this is going to be one that's going to be keeping nice and close here as things develop. This has been a very, very clean start to this race, considering how we know how these starts of the races can go. Now Toth going to go back on the inside now, but is forced to back out at the last second from Harrison.
Yeah, and a quick update on George Simmons. You might have seen him in the background of your shot down in the Mühlenbach hairpin. He is still trying to get back to this top 6 battle, but most definitely his train has lost quite some ground already, and he's right now stuck quite heavily behind Penna as we have side by side into the education game.
And David Toth makes the pass complete into the TCR race lead. Harrison might try to fight back here. Almost gets run over by Ledger, though, as Ledger trying to make a stand around the outside. That closing Bernton Guinness here is trying to go for a pass here. The entry to the Nordschleife, one of the first corners there. No dice, though, for Guinness. He's got to back out of this one and allows Team Legend to maintain the 3rd position. That got a bit hairy, though, as Toth made the pass for the lead.
Yeah, and Kieran Harrison, you were quite nicely able to see it from our camera angles. He did back off there into the entry cage. He didn't want to force the issue through there. Probably the best choice he could have done. It's only the start of lap 2 in reality, so still a long way to go.
He'll be halfway when we get to the end of this next lap here, and this is still one of my favorite sections on the track, as you're going to watch the touring cars coming up. Even they're going to give it the tiniest little hop as they come on over. Look at this beautiful, that beautiful shot there that really just shows you how they can fly over the hairpin. Imagine taking a Lotus 49 over there. That's what they used to do back in the olden days here. Of course, track was very, very different back then, but it was just equally as sketchy.
Yep, it is extremely sketchy to do that in a Lotus 49. Have tried quite a few times, have succeeded quite a few last times.
George Simmons, you can see in that green and white car just behind. He's made his way back up here to just about to the tail end of the second trainer. He's now trying to have a go around David Pena, though, in the run down towards Vauxhall. This is a very brave place to go for a pass. Gets squeezed out into the grass on the run towards Vauxhall here. Down the hill and then through the little bit of a kink. He's going to have to dive back in line as he gets back up, but now he backs off wisely in the run up to the braking zone. Bit close for comfort there for George Simmons, who was still trying to work on a recovery drive after taking a slowdown penalty that dropped him all the way right to the back end of the TCR field on lap 1 in the GP circuit.
This most definitely seems like a desperate race car driver. George Simmons does want to make up these positions, but just kind of once again tries for the inside, but is not able to do so. George Simmons has to stay patient, has to keep his cool.
Patience is key at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, but these guys do only have 4 laps to get these moves done. Quite a long time for these cars, but definitely not too long when you kind of think about it. We're already halfway through that second lap here. So we're closing in rapidly on the halfway point. The battle for the race lead here in TCRs is still yet to be decided as well. It's worth noting they are still right on the tail of each other. Now they're entering onto one of the longer drafting sections here. They got a couple more corners, but once they pass through Bergwerk, they're going to be right past and up into the main stretch of things. So we continue to watch these. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just want to say top 6 are spread out nicely, but it seems like that George Simmons got past David Penna finally.
Does look as though he managed to make that pass, so now Simmons leads the head of the train there in that one. That, no doubt, was not a very easy pass to make. Looks like he got it onto one of the longer drafting sections here, which it's something you could obviously expect him to do. So, and now look at this, side by side for the race lead. Harrison trying to go back forward. David Toth trying to defend around the outside, but no dice. Steven Ledger still waiting in the wings. So is Guinness here. Guinness has to back out as they dart their way through the King. Harrison gets a little bit close to the grass on the right-hand side of the track. David Toth looking for it, trying to find a way back through to come back to the point here for the TCR race lead. But as they reach the braking zone, no room, gets close and nearly gives Harrison the bumper, and nearly is given the bumper himself by Ledger.
Yeah, honestly, through Moodkoffer, I thought Guinness is going to go for the overtake on Steen Ledger as we see quite the crash from Salomon.
That was right at the end of that very long draft train that we saw there. Gillian Salomon just got into the grass and went from one side to the other and back across, spinning across and slammed the tire barriers. Very premature way to end out a race there. Very unfortunate for him. We'll take a ride on board with Salomon. Just clips the grass, and there's no stopping that car at this point.
Yeah, there's no stopping whatsoever. The only thing stopping him is the hard tire barrier at the end of the track.
Gosh, these TCRs are still so close, and it's worth noting that the World Touring Car Championship does come here on a regular basis. And they've also only got about like a 4 to 8 lap race themselves here whenever they come here. This is what you can expect to see whenever that series comes here, because good grief, it's very similar to what kind of racing you'd see there, and it is just some thrilling stuff. It just nose to tail all the way around. Not something we see terribly often here at the Nürburgring, especially if you look towards the GT4 field, which is pretty spread out except for a battle for second with a second, third, fourth, and fifth kind of in a train, but even they are more spread out than this top 6 are. And look at that. That's a good shot of a right rear wheel there of an Audi RS3 LMS and a fantastic view of what maybe an interior of a tailpipe might look like as well. You're on board with David Toth as he is trying desperately to run past Kieran Harrison.
Unsurprisingly, the inside of a tailpipe is black.
And not too many surprises there, but I've got a feeling that this could end up being pretty big here in this run here for the TCR race lead. You never know how these battles are going to shape up, and it looks as though it could get dicey again as we head down to the Dot-na-Ho. The drivers just now started to cycle their way up to there. The GT4 is coming right now to the tail end of the second lap, so the overall race leaders have officially hit halfway this time by as they're now crossing over onto the GP section. And even for third place, Hartenberg is starting to really close in here on Patrick Hahn and could potentially have a run here into the Yokohama S if he really chooses to do so in the number 4 car. We haven't given the GT4s much love so far this race. They've been just so split up, they haven't been able to go for these moves, and Hartenberg is going to elect to back out of it and not go for the move as the TCR race lead now down onto the Dot-na-Ho.
Yeah, and for TCRs, this is going to be a really telling sign here. How good is the draft in the TCRs? Can third place make a move down all the way to Tiergarten? We're going to see right here. Well, they're all stepping out of the throttle there, but there we have number 3, that is Guinness. He's making the move from 4th place all the way up to 2nd. So most definitely draft is quite the thing here at the Nordschleife.
Steen Ledge going for the 3-car bump draft. Em's getting cycled out to 4th because of it. But Guinness from 4th to 2nd in just one straightaway. And now right on the back of, I believe, his teammate of Kieran Harrison here. So this could be big here. Harrison moves to the left. Guinness is going defensive here, trying to keep David Toth behind him and away from his teammate.
A little bit of teammate plays here from Guinness, trying to defend his Harrison, the teammate there, as we have side by side going into turn one. That's a touch on the teammates.
That would not be a good feeling as well. You go so hard on defense for your teammate and then you're the one that takes him out the very next corner. That would be a very awkward team meeting for sure. Guinness now trying to get back past David Toth, but just not successful enough. This has built up, though, a significant gap from David Toth up to Kieran Harrison that David Toth is going to have to do quite a bit to run down. And I say significant. It's significant compared to how close some of these other guys have been all lap long, like Steve Ledger and Quentin Guinness now. Oh, Ledger has a look, and then Guinness makes a very late block.
Yeah, that was quite a block thrown there by the 3 on the 13. But I also do think that Steen did just kind of play with that and really didn't want to go for it. Either way, they are still racing nonetheless. Also, good thing, Ollie Peacock has once again joined this 4 drivers. So we now have a quintet back at the front of the field.
Patrick Hahn appears to have had some sort of struggles at some point on the racing surface. He is well down the order, and in fact, he is a long way back. We last saw him kind of in the battle for the third place down there in the GP section. So something happened to the number 5 car that potentially saw him bow out. It appears to be a connection-related thing here for Patrick Hahn. So the third place driver is out of the fight here in this one. So we're going to keep our eyes here on the TCR battle for the overall TCR race lead. Your Ledger having a look up the inside of Quentin Guinness.
In the meantime, you can also still follow George Simmons on the left side of your screens. He's still struggling quite heavily to find the back end of this top 6, top 5 train. Mikael Garcia, 6th place right now, even still struggling a little bit to keep up with these 5 guys in front of him. But the more they start to fight, the more of a chance George Simmons still has to maybe find a top 5 out of all of this.
This single file train here will definitely be kind of a staple of this TCR field here for a majority of this race yet. And we can even see this being a thing on the last lap all the way up to the dot and a hoe. That's where it can really start to break out, because these TCRs, they have the room back there to fan out 3 wide for the lead, potentially 4 if you're brave and, well, quite possibly stupid enough to want to go for it. But you never know with some of the guys at the TCR field. We've seen some wild things just this season alone from these guys, and there is still much more to come. David Toth once again bump drafting Kieran Harrison all the way down the very, very long straightaway, and now going to be making the braking points here for the Arenberg hairpin.
Yeah, Todd is really trying for it.
Oh, he saves it.
The wonders and choice of a front-wheel drive just pin the throttle and you're going to be able to spin it back around. But I just was going to say Todd is really trying for it, really desperate to get that first place away from Harrison, and yeah, it really won't work like he's doing it right now.
How did Harrison hang on to that one? I mean, these are front-wheel drive cars, yes, but this is a track where if the car starts to slide sideways, you don't save it. He just gave it a boot full and managed to pull the front end back around, and this is still on lap 3. They still got 1 more lap to go, and he's going to go for the race lead again. As you take a look at the replay here, there's a contact from Harrison. On the bottom right, though, there's Toth going for the race lead here with about 1.5 laps to go now for the touring cars. Gets squeezed onto the grass.
Too wide through Pflanzgarten. That can't go well. How did it go well?
I have no idea. This is absolutely incredible. I mean, the Nordschleife here, I often kind of rag on it a bit here, Steph, because it doesn't often provide some good racing. This is the best race I've ever seen at this facility. I've never seen cars being able to run this close for this long, and they've still got a lap to go yet. It's worth noting they're racing like it's the last lap. It may as well be for some of these guys.
And this is why I love TCR racing. It's just cold-blooded racing. It's easy to race because anything you can do in the car, these cars can most definitely do, as there's a little bit of a mistake from Todd through X-Müller.
I think finally we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief there. Very brave attempt there from Steen Ledger. Unfortunately, did not quite go his way, but goodness gracious. What a run for David Toth there. And again, it is not over because now he's got a very, very long straightaway ahead of him. Will he make another look for the leader? We'll have to go for the bump trap. It looks like for now, he's going to stick right in behind Harrison.
Yeah, but for how long? I think he's just waiting to take it side by side through here. But also look in behind, here comes Guinness, and he's taking it side by side with Ledger!
Oh boy. Guinness gonna try to go and help out David Toth here as they go side by side for the lead again. Harrison makes a very wise move back, so goes for the switchback, trying to fight back on David Toth with the TCR race lead. What kind of action is this? Toth squeezes out the number 7 car right through the king there in the straight. Goodness gracious, David Toth up to the point.
And here is the second group as well now onto the back of these guys. They have fought so hard. They have lost 4 seconds to the second group of cars. Oh, and the top 2 get thrown out of the carousel.
That puts the teammates side by side now. Guinness versus Harrison. These guys are our teammates here in this grand scheme of things. They got to make a choice here as to who's going to get on in front. And they decide Harrison will be the one. And they got a lot of ground to make up now, up to David Toth, the race leader. These guys cannot afford to fight. So I think Guinness is going to take a more defensive line here. And he's going to try to fend off Steen Ledger to make sure that Full Send Racing cannot get between these guys. Because right now, the teammates are running 2 and 3. They need to get past David Toth. And they're only going to be able to do that here as a group.
Yeah, and the funny thing is Steen Ledger now has his teammate of Ollie Peacock right behind him as well. So it's teammates 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 with George Simmons right behind in 6th place.
We'll talk about a heart-stopping lap here. I mean, this has just been absolutely incredible for everybody so far in this race. It has been such a thrilling fight. I mean, the GT4s, they have not provided us the most exciting of battles, but they might give us one here. The Porsche leaders here are starting to close on in right at the tail of the dot in a hoe. Oscar Rene is trying to close in on Carl Jensen in the 3-car battle for them. They're about to start the last lap as well. They're about to take that white flag. So the overall race leaders up in GT4s, they're going to circle around to take the white flag. The other guys, the DCRs, have a little bit of time yet before they'll get to another good drafting point. So the GT4s, though, they're now on the last lap of the race.
Still, though, 24 kilometers to go for our Porsche leaders as they're side by side between the teammates. And, oh, there's a lot of positions lost for Harrison.
Slow down. That is screaming slowdown penalty at the moment for me. He must have cut one corner a bit too tight, and I think I found out where it was. It was a couple of corners back. Just cut it way too tight, and surely that's a slowdown penalty. Why would you give up that many spots for no reason at all? We'll keep our eyes on the GT4 race leaders, and we'll let you know if that heats on up. But for now, it's all going to be here in the TCR battle for the race lead. Again, is a bit wide through the exit. They have really got to close down on David Toth here. Steen Ledger, if he wants to get up there, he is going to be giving Guinness the bump draft here. That is exactly what he's going to do. Give it the shot to the bumper, Steen. You need to get that run to push to the front. But now Ledger's going to try to go for the pass for second here. He's going to get squeezed out of the grass here. Contact is made. Nose to tail. And Guinness managed to hang on to it. This is only costing them more time now. Ollie Peacock comes into the picture. He's going to give the Steen Ledger driver a bit of a bump here as Peacock tries to go back to the point here in the battle for second place.
That's teammates side by side right there. Full Send is going side by side, and this might cost for something.
Oh! That's Simmons there. Simmons trying to break himself back up into the podium position as they managed to close in significantly here on the overall race leader here of David Toth in this one. But there's still a long way out there for Guinness, and Guinness cannot have these guys fighting them like this if they want to get themselves a good shot here at a race victory. Final lap of the race for the TCRs.
I'm scared for my life, and I'm only in the commentary booth. What is going on? There's a lot of positions lost now for Guinness.
Peacock and Steen Ledger both up into second and third. Simmons trying to make the poke around for third, and they somehow manage to keep it together. Big car spins out in the background almost as Miguel Garcia just sent Guinness into the corner.
Was this enough of a gap, though, for David Toth? I don't think so. He might be getting reeled in once again by the two full send teammates, and then we have a wild card George Simmons reappearing inside the top 5, maybe even inside the top 3. And this full send was a full send, and that's, by the way, the two teammates once again of Kieran Harrison that he touched there. So a little bit of an interesting coming together.
I can't count how many puns we made about full send racing, just full sending people. But look at George Simmons trying to full send racing back into the 4th position, side by side now. That squeezes Simmons off the track. George Simmons trying to race Ledger clean here as he tries to put himself up into 3rd. Now he's going to return the favor and steal Ledger a little ways off the tracks. They're drag racing it out now, and there's still a good 20 kilometers left to run in this race. Look at Harrison trying to give Ledger the bumper here, trying to push him up in front. Simmons right in back. This is great news here for Ollie Peacock, who's going to be trying to run down David Toth for the battle for the race lead here in TCRs. Again, these guys cannot fight like this. If they want to get a shot at the win, they have got to work together here to work their way back up to Toth, or he's going to run away with the win, or with the lead here.
Yeah, the good thing is they're still very close together, and don't forget we still have 3-4 very long straights ahead of us where they most definitely will get bunched up again. But with this, Steel Ledger lost about a second already to his teammate of Ollie Peacock.
So now you got David Toth and Ollie Peacock kind of out there running on their own at the moment, and I don't think there's enough time here for Ledger to be able to close back in. They got to really work together here if they're going to have a shot here. Even Ollie Peacock has to work with David Toth here. So now here's the question. If you're Ollie Peacock, do you back yourself up a little bit more towards your teammates so we can give you a bump draft and maybe work together to get up there? Or do you stay where you are but not go for the lead so you can give your teammate a tow and maybe you can run for it together down the dot in the hoe? Because at this point in time, that's what they have to set themselves up for here.
Well, right now they're evenly spaced out, so Peacock is giving Steel Ledger a nice draft all the way up to Schwedenkreuz and Arenberg. So this works out nicely. They have already closed in quite a few tenths just to Schwedenkreuz, so Steel Ledger still not out of this shot whatsoever.
Imagine George Simmons coming back for this after his early lap struggles and winning this darn thing. I mean, it still is within the realm of possibility. There's still a lot of time left to go. 1.2 seconds at the moment separating the top 3 in TCRs, and all of the cars are closing in on David Toth slowly but surely. Toth is just so good at the exit, but Peacock's got such a big run down these straightaways here, and he's setting himself up better for the corners as well. Now, it's within half a second here between 1st and 2nd, and Steel Ledger, he has now caught Ollie Peacock.
Yeah, this is how quickly the gaps can shrink here in the TCR at the neighboring Nordschleife. That's why I said these guys are far from out of the woods for winning this race. David Toth still has to work quite a bit. And the thing is, like we have seen a few laps, 2 laps ago already, you can win this from 3rd place, maybe even 4th place, if you play your cards right.
Not a lot of time remaining for these guys to try to sort something out here. They're going to be fighting as hard as they possibly can here to try to get any kind of scrap of speed that they can get. Ollie Peacock's kind of dropped back a little ways from David Toth, though, and that is definitely going to be not so good there for Peacock, who's going to be struggling a little bit here, trying to work his way back up, but he has got himself a very long straightaway coming up here in just a few corners that he'll be able to get a massive run, not to mention the dot in the hoe where you can close in over half a second down the straightaway.
Yeah, so how will the full send drivers play this out? Who will make the move for 1st place? Will it be Ollie Peacock or will it be Steel Ledger? It will be decided right here all the way up to Mutkurve. If Ollie Peacock stays in 2nd, it will be Steel Ledger who will have the best shot all the way up to Tiergarten.
Now, this is the chance for Steel Ledger to really work with Peacock here, given the bump draft that he needs down the straightaway, make the passes on the dot in the hoe. Right now, Ledger's got to focus on getting Peacock back up to the front there just so they can have a shot at even going for the race lead. Closes right at the back of Peacock. And there's the bumper, giving the shot that he needs to Ollie Peacock trying to reel in David Todd. The gap is a half a second now, and it is closing fast. 0.3 of a second. About a quarter of a second now, and still rapidly closing towards the kink. David Todd, he is not safe. This battle is going to be right down to the wire.
And he even dropped his tires into the grass there. David Todd, that didn't really help him either with his top end speed. So they are once again bunched up together.
Goodness gracious. There's still a long way to go for this TCR reliever as well, but for the GT4s, they're about to enter the dot and a hoe for the final time today, and that'll be a good fight for the overall race lead as well if they can continue to get a bit close enough up there. So the TCRs, they're just after the carousel for what will be the fourth and final time today. And meanwhile, the GT4s now entering the last straightaway before we re-enter the GP circuit for the last time. At third place, off and into the grass there, just on the exit of that final corner for the dot and a hoe.
Yeah, right now for the GT4s, it looks like a 1-2 for the core drivers with Janssen leading Rinne, but it seems like Rinne closing in quite rapidly.
A mistake from Peacock and TCR sends him back about another quarter of a second there, so long way to go now to work his way up the dot and the hoe. But now in the battle for the overall lead here in the GT4s, will Rene go for the pass around Carl Jensen? Can he get close to them? No, we can't. Besides the back out of this one, third place of Leonard Hartenberg, not close enough either. So as they dart their way now through the final set of corners, it will be Carl Jensen to come off of the final corner. And he is going to take victory here in the GT4s at the Nürburgring. Nordschleife, Rene in second, Hartenberg third. Niels Carlsen hanging on for fourth place just behind. The TCR battle, though, still yet to be decided. They're now kind of darting their way up now for the final series of corners before we get this battle settled as well. The battle for fifth also to be decided. Tim Grevin trying to run down William Chadwick. No time, though, in the battle for fifth. And that just leaves the TCR fight here, Stefan. This is going to be a good one here. The two teammates, do they work together, or do they decide to just go full send, quite literally, on the last lap with each other?
Yeah, full send racing, they have the best cars right now. Steen Ledger, he might be coming first to the finish line as there's somebody in behind who went wide. That was Kieran Harrison who went wide and now back behind Curran. Guinness!
Guinness having a moment as well, so the two teammates gonna pass each other back. For the race lead, though, it's still not over. Ollie Peacock trying to run down David Todd. This is the last chance he's got to make this pass work here. They're gonna be side by side for the positions just behind, but the battle's all gonna be up in front here. Peacock trying to run him down as well. He's got the time to make this work. He could potentially go for the race lead here. This is the final chance to get this one to work here. Will Steve Legend go for it as well? He's going to give it up to his teammate. Gives him a fierce shot to the bumper here. Now here goes Todd, squeezing Peacock out to the left side of the racetrack, trying to fight him off. But here comes Peacock, fight his way to the point. They make contact for second. Todd gets shoved out. 3-1. Here comes Simmons making for it. Legend gets set. He's side by side now with Ollie Peacock in the final series of corners here. Simmons going to give him the bumper here. Simmons trying to fend off David Todd behind, but it's gonna be Ollie Peacock to come on up and take victory while Simmons recovers the second.
Oh, and Steen Ledger even is parked at the entry of Hoheneichen, so he can't even finish the race as Peacock won this. What a race!
And Steen Ledger was so close, yet so far. Big crash with the 13 car sends him out of the race right in the final series of corners, and tremendous shunt for Ledger. Somehow avoids Harrison as he remounted across the track. We got to take a look on board from Harrison because that was one heck of an incident there. We'll take a look at the whole of the last battle here. There's Ledger, first bit of contact, now trying to fend off Simmons. There's the second piece of contact, and watch from the air here as Ledger's going to go to the left, slam the wall hard, and then gets stuck in the barriers as bounces right across Harrison. But gosh, what a thrilling fight here to the end.
I am in shock, awe, and everything else.
On board with Harrison, you'll have the best view of this. There's Ledger off. You're going to get stuck in the wall right there.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I'm at a loss for words. That battle could not have gone any better. Went all Ollie Peacock's way. Oh boy. Take another look at the wild ride and the wild battle as well. You're just gonna DRZ Ledger exit stage left. Simmons was nearly run over as well there by the third place runner of David Toth on the final stage as well. Just barely managed to keep it out of him.
But what a comeback from George Simmons on the first lap through the Michael Schumacher. Gets that slowdown, sends him all the way to the back of the TCR fifth to come back within 3.5 laps to place in second. Incredible drive from him.
How did David Toth not get caught up in that wreck as well? I mean, and he still managed to recover nicely and tried to really send it there on Simmons. I mean, there's just so many different angles to look at there, and now this is going to be from George Simmons, and well, it looks like Simmons might want to consider going to the full set team, because this is a real full set move here into the grass slightly as he ducks over to the left to try to make a bonsai pass for the lead. It almost worked too. That's the crazy thing. It was so close. Look at the wheel work he's doing as well to keep that thing under control. Wow. Just absolutely incredible stuff.
In the end, you were even able to see how thrilled he was about that second place.
Well, let's take a look now at the results here from this race. Carl Jensen will win it off in GT4. Shortly behind is Oskari Rene. Lennart Hartenberg in third place with Nils Carstensen in fourth. William Chadwick in fifth. Tim Grevitt in sixth. Adam Isaacson in seventh. Michael Janey in eighth. Max Kamara in ninth. Joshua Helrung in 10th. Continuing on back is going to be Patrick Hahn in 11th. Not finishing the race along with Julian Solomon, Christian Pereira, and Tino Blankenheim. Now, Stefan, you've got the TCR class.
Ollie Peacock won it all in the number 16, just ahead of a second place George Simmons, who came from fourth up to second place there on the last straight of the race. David Todd, he finished in third place, just 7/10 behind your winning race car in the TCR class. Kieran Harrison profits on the crash of Steen Ledger to come himself into fourth place, 2 seconds back with Quarantine Guinness's teammate, as well as Roman Böckler in sixth. Miguel Freitas, not the best Friday for him, but he still recovered up to a very good 7th place. Quiet race from him though all the way till the end. Mikael Garcia in 8th place with David Pena finishing in 9th place. And Danny Martin rounds out your top 10 here today with Isaac Yan quite far back, 18 seconds in 11th place. And then sadly, Steen Ledger not able to recover his car back to the checkered flag, finishes 1 lap down in 12th place.
Now, I'll tell you what, we don't often get people to pop on up here and give us interviews, but we've got a couple of people today, and we're going to kick things off here with your GT4 overall winner of Carl Jensen. Now, Carl, goodness gracious, this was quite the thrilling race. Definitely you were the one to beat, though, in the GT4 class, as you started on the pole, led every single lap to take the victory. How do you feel?
It was a good race. Me and Oskari are teammates, so we pretty much figured out that if we kept each other inside of the draft, we could also defend very nicely. Yeah, the race shaped out very nicely with a 1-2 there, so can't complain.
Talk about the challenges here a little bit of the Nordschleife. Of course, everybody knows what the GP circuit is like, but the Nordschleife is just a whole other animal in comparison. I mean, you really can't even compare the two different portions of the track with one another. I mean, especially in the GT4s. I've run the Porsche Cayman around the Nordschleife, and it's no easy feat to keep it on track, even for 1 lap, let alone lead the whole darn race as well. So, how do you do it? I mean, like, what's some of the struggles out there, and how do you manage to overcome them?
The struggles mainly is the balancing of the car. I don't really know why it does it, but it pogos quite a bit. So like through the Stefan Belofes. Through there, it's very tricky to keep it inside of the curbs and go flat out, because it just bounces so much, and it kind of starts rotating a bit weirdly when it starts to bouncing. Same with like Hatzenbach and some of those places. It's quite tricky to keep it from bouncing, and like worst case scenario, it could bounce you off into a wall. But yeah, I mean, all in all, you just need to take it a bit easy. Kind of know what curbs you can take and can't take. Because there definitely is some that you can't take because they're so high that you, instead of gaining time, you just start bouncing instead and then lose a lot of time. So yeah, I would say it just takes a lot of practice to get it correctly there. But yeah, definitely it's a very tricky car and track combo.
We, of course, know why iRacing sent us to the Nürburgring here for the Pilot Challenge, despite this series not typically going here. It's the Nürburgring 24 hours, just coming up tomorrow, as a matter of fact. This is kind of one of the feeder races, you could say, in preparation for that. Do you guys plan on running the Nürburgring 24 hour? And if so, where do you guys expect yourselves to kind of be in relation to everybody else?
Yeah, we're definitely running. It's me, Oskari, and then Pascal Stix and Oscar Mangan in the car. Last year we were gunning for the win. I think we had a like 5 or 6 minute lead. Unfortunately, I had a wheel failure then, and it crashed us off into the wall and basically destroyed any chances of the win. Yeah, we're back for revenge this time, and hopefully we can pull off something similar.
Before I let you go here, Carl, anybody you'd like to shout out for us or thank?
Yeah, definitely everyone over at Core Sim Racing for the continued support, and also you guys for putting the show on.
Thank you for taking the time to join us here. Congratulations on a win, and best of luck in the 24-hour endurance race, same facility tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
That was your race winner in the GT4 class, Carl Jensen, bringing it home in the #1 Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 Club Sport for victory here in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. Continue to move things on down the order here, and now we come up to one of the most exciting battles that we had in the last 30 seconds of that race. Stefan, you're standing by with our second place finisher, George Simmons.
Yeah, George, to lead it off, tell us your part of that battle. Incredible. 4 guys fighting for the win, and then even 3 wide at the very end. How was it from your POV?
Yeah, well, I guess the first thing I need to say is apologies to Steen there, because he's been rear wheel contact between me and him, and it's just broke his suspension and ended his race, and he definitely, didn't deserve to be finishing whatever it was, P11, I think, in the end. He drove a brilliant race. We've been battling hard all week, and look forward to battling him again, I guess, this weekend in 24. Yeah, I knew it was a bit risky, and I just thought, well, come this far back from P12, let's just see what we can get. And there was room, and I went for it, and luckily, well, I was going to say, nearly everyone survived. Yeah, and got the P2.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, you already talked about it a tiny little bit. Rewinding all the way to the first lap through the Michael Schumacher S. You most definitely, from that point on, were the most busy bee in the hive.
Yeah, I certainly made the race difficult for myself. I've hit that slowdown a few times in testing, but of course it wasn't the first lap of a race, was it? So I was expecting it to serve itself at least a fair bit. By the time I got to the next corner, it was only going up, and then it was just trying to stay out of the way to get it served. Obviously dropped me right to the back, and then from that point onwards, I just thought, well, Miguel was only, who I guess is the person I'm most worried about for the championship, was only 1 or 2 places ahead of me. So I just thought, well, as long as I can catch him up and give him a good race, then we've not lost out too much. And then people could obviously saw that I had some good pace and were keen to, drop back in behind me. And obviously the leaders were battling too. So yeah, it all just kind of worked out to let me get back up towards the front. And and then with 1 lap to go, it was mistake erased, and let's concentrate on what we can get in that last lap scramble, really.
Yeah, most definitely, Miguel. For Miguel, we most definitely did find the kryptonite. It is apparently the Nürburgring in Nordschleife. And now, keeping on the topic and asking the same question that Nolan had for Carl. Obviously, George, we're expecting you to be in the TCR for the Nürburgring 24-hour. How are your chances? What do you think?
Well, I don't want to. Well, I don't know. I don't want to tempt fate too much, I guess. We've put together a bit of a combination of different teams. So it's myself, Stelian Chepelevsky from Apex Racing Team, David Baker and Ross McFarlane from Pure Sims Esports, and then Jack Sedgwick from Inex Racing. So hopefully, between us, we can do a good job, and we'll see where we end up. So I guess that's all I want to say.
Well, George, best of luck to you and your teammates in the Nürburgring 24-hour. Most definitely looking forward to seeing you race there.
Thanks a lot.
And that was George Simmons, the second place finisher here in the TCR field. My goodness, what an absolutely thrilling race, and George always a pleasant guy to talk to. So we are going to kick things on off here. We're going to move things, continuing down the order here. We're going to bring in another driver who we didn't talk about too much in the broadcast, but we're going to get a chance to talk to him here and get his thoughts on things. William Chadwick finishing 5th place in the GT4 field in a big battle with Tim Grevin for the final position inside the top 5. Well, Mr. Chadwick, you managed to just barely fend off Tim behind you. About 0.3 of a second between you guys at the end there.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, but I think I had about a 3-second lead on him, and I made a mistake coming into the final section of the lap. Completely ruined my advantage, and I knew that I had to really try as hard as I could in the final sector to push away from him and have just enough gap down the final straight. So I managed to do that, and thankfully I finished ahead of him.
Well, we saw a lot of people were kind of weaving back and forth across that straightaway, particularly in the TCR field, but a little bit as well in the GT4 field as well. As were you one of those people that was trying to do that just to break the draft? Did you kind of just ride things out to kind of see how things were going to go?
Oh, I definitely did it at the end just to break the draft because it's so powerful around this track. I mean, I think if I'm correct, when I lost the toe, I was 9/10 back, but the cars ahead of me were closer together, and they just pulled out the toe. And at that point, I knew my race was over, and I knew I couldn't catch him because it's just so. The toe round here is honestly, it's people don't imagine it to be that big, but because there's so many corners, so many technical sections, but. Honestly, I think I was counted. I was trying my best. I ran my fastest race lap of the week without draft by a second, trying to keep up. But the two closing up to the pack before Patrick disconnected one, unfortunately, ran I think the 2 fastest race laps of the week. They're both the world record laps. So I just couldn't hold on. If I'd held the toe, I think I could have still been there. But the toe is so powerful. So it is imperative to break that toe when you get a chance to keep your position, especially on that final lap.
Well, let's look forward to tomorrow. Obviously, as we've been discussing, the Nürburgring 24 hours coming up tomorrow. Are you going to be attending that race? And if you are, what's the goal for tomorrow then? Absolutely
attending that race. We should be hitting the top split. Hopefully, my 2 teammates are both 7K, so I think we'll have a high enough team average to make it to the top split, and that'll be my first time in a top split event at one of these massive events like Nürburgring, Le Mans, Daytona. And the real aim when it comes to the N24 is to survive. You've got all your GT3s that are going to end up coming through whenever they manage to start lapping us, and from then it'll be absolute survival. Even against you in the track, it's so easy to make a mistake here, especially when pushing it to the limits, because it's a lot of people that struggle to find time round here. It's down to the fact that they're not quite able to mentally push as hard as possible like they would on a normal track because of how dangerous it is and how easy it is to crash. And you really have to push the car at all times through every corner to get your lap time, because you may look at a time and say, oh, I'm 3 seconds off the pace. It's horrific. But when you break that down into thinking that this lap is 6 times larger than a normal track, and you divide that, you end up thinking, well, I'm only 4/10 off one of the fastest people in the world. And you have to look at it that way instead of looking at it like, oh, I'm really far off on time. You have to look at it as every little corner of the 170 turns on this track, you can lose a little bit of time. And then, you know, if you gain a 10th in 170 corners, it's a stupid amount of time.
And well, before we let you go then here, Will, anybody you'd like to shout out who happens to be fast in the number 12?
I'd like to say thank USS for having me. I've recently joined them, and all the sponsors like Valvoline and everyone at USS for helping me out. And hopefully we go well tomorrow. See how it goes.
Thank you for joining us tonight, William, and best of luck tomorrow in the 24-hour endurance race.
Thank you very much, Nolan.
That was William Chadwick, the 5th place finisher in the GT4s, and that is about going to wrap up the driver interview portion here of this broadcast, Stefan. Well, goodness gracious, what an exciting race tonight, but it's not quite over here for the Nürburgring, because like we were discussing, 24-hour endurance race coming up in less than 24 hours time. So what do you think some of the things are to look out for when you come on into that race, and why should people go and watch that race here on RaceSpotTV?
Oh, because it is the mother of endurance races. It doesn't get any better than endurance racing on the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Any mistake like we have seen today can be the end of your entire endeavor. You have to be picture perfect on one of the most challenging tracks that you can find on this globe. So really check in. Even if you're not into endurance racing whatsoever, you're gonna see probably one of the best shows you've ever seen.
And well, with those words, it does seem like it is just about time for us to close out yet another presentation here of Friday Night Primetime on RaceSpotTV. Thank you for joining us here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife here for the iRacing IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. It's not over yet though. 24-hour endurance racing coming on up tomorrow. You can watch all 24 hours live from RaceSpotTV. So best come on back here. That is no doubt going to be the mother of all endurance races, just like Stefan said. I've been Noel Rambo bringing you all the coverage here from start to finish. Stefan Schlack here beside me in the commentary box, and Hugo Louise behind the cameras for today's race. Thank you for joining us for another presentation of Friday Night Primetime. We'll see you all next week.